G'day, my name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another episode of Aussie Box Office Charts. Quiet week, but we've still got stuff to talk about, so let's dive in. First up, at the Aussie Box Office, we do have a number one movie. Shelter comes in with just over $1 million. Obviously, the entire box office is quieting down post-holidays. Brings in just over $1 million to open at number one. And, Jason Statham, early year action movie. It's become a little bit of a habit, but we'll check more in on Jason Statham's filmography after the top 10. Marty Supreme holds comfortably at number 2 with just over $1 million, dropping just 33% in its third week of release for a current total of $7.8 million. Iron Lung drops all the way down to 3. Now that might look significant, but it brings in another $860,000 in its second week, dropping 48% for a current total of just over $3 million. Might look like a big drop, but that's for a horror movie. And a horror movie, they normally drop 60-70% in their second week. So dropping only 48%, pretty good. At number 4, we see Send Help dropping just 28% in its second week of release, bringing in $780,000 for a current total of $2.2 million. What I suspect is happening there is a lot of the audience that went to see Iron Lung last week are seeing Send Help this weekend, hence the much lower drop. And rounding out the top 5, The Housemaid, with another $750,000, its 7th week in release, dropping just 26% for a current total of $23.9 million. That's a good barrier for that movie to break because it means it snuck on to the 2025 top 10, which we'll check just in a bit. Moving on to 6 through 10, at number 6, Avatar Fire and Ash with another $700,000, its 8th week in release, dropping another 29% for a current total of $57.7 million. At number 8, we have Stray Kids, The Dominate Experience, a music concert movie / documentary about the K-pop group out of Korea, bringing in just under $600,000. At number 8, we have Song Sung Blue with another $400,000. Its 6th week in release, dropping 29%, holding really well, with a current total of $11.25 million. Doing really well for a movie like that. Zootopia at number 9 with another $366,000. Its 11th week in release, dropping 50% for a current total of $42.3 million. Big number, but it's not going any higher on the 2025 chart. And rounding out the top 10 is Hamnet with another $360,000, dropping 22% in its 4th week of release for a current total of just over $4 million. Opening outside the top 10 for this week, we have Is This Thing On? Came in at 11th with $247,000. We Bury the Dead opened in 21st with $57,000. And all the way down in 36th position, we had The Strangers Chapter 3 opening with $20,000. So if you break those numbers down on a per cinema average, it's about 1,100 people went and saw The Strangers Chapter 3. So not a smashing success there. So because we don't have any box office races on our hands or comparing X to Y's this week, I thought we'd take a quick look at Jason Statham. And then we'll dive into the top 10. Jason Statham has been leading movies for 20 odd years at this point. More than. So if we go right back, The Transporter in 2002 opened to $700,000. Then Transporter 2 around the same. Crank in 2006, great movie, opened to $400,000. War opened to $500,000. You can see a lot of his early movies. 2008, 3 movies in 2008, mind you. The Bank Job, Death Race, Transporter 3, The Mechanic in 2011, and then Safe in 2012. All opened between $500,000 and $1 million. Then, in 2018, The Meg opened to $3.4 million. Wrath of Man in 2021 opened to $1.7 million. The Meg 2 in 2023 opened to $3.1 million. The Beekeeper, a couple of years ago, 2024, opened to $1.9 million. A Working Man just last year opened to $1.7 million. And Shelter, his most recent entry, opened to just over $1 million. Anyone want to take a guess at what happened to Jason Statham's career between 2012 and 2018? I'll give you a hint. It's about family. That's right. Jason Statham was in, I think, 3 Fast and the Furious movies between 2012 and 2018. He had his spin-off in 2019. The reason none of those are here is this is Jason Statham led movies. He has to be front and center on the poster, no one else. Let's take a look at total gross. It looks fairly similar, with the first batch of movies, Transporter 2, Crank, ending up about $1.2 to $1.5 million. Then he had a few more with a bit more success, $4.5 to $3 million, 3.5. Safe and The Mechanic bombed pretty hard over here. But then 2018, The Meg ended up with $10.1 million. Wrath of Man, 7.2. The Meg 2, 9.2. Beekeeper at $8 million. A Working Man fell right off the pace, landing on $3.8 million. We'll see where Shelter ends up. But yeah, you can see here, he's had a pretty wild ride. Alright, since there was some movement on it, and it will probably be the last time we see this chart for a long time, the 2025 top 10 of the Australian box office, this is how it currently looks. So the top 5 of everything released in calendar year 2025. Avatar, Fire and Ash hold the number 1 with $57.7 million. It will creep up a little bit higher, but as you saw in the top 10, it's moved down to number 6. It shouldn't be around for too much longer. A Minecraft movie ends at number 2 with its $56.3 million. Zootopia 2 still trucking with its $42.3 million, but it's not going to catch a Minecraft movie. Lilo and Stitch at $34.3 million. Wicked for Good with $33.1 million. It'll get a little bit higher, but I'm not sure it's going to catch Lilo and Stitch. Jurassic World Rebirth ends at number 6 with its $31.5 million. How to Train Your Dragon ends at $30.4 million. F1 the movie ends at number 8 with $30.3 million. Superman ends, for now, at $24.9 million. And the new entry on the chart is The Housemaid with $23.9 million, which knocks out Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. No Mission Impossible in the top 10 for 2025. The Housemaid, if it keeps it up, it may trump Superman and knock it down. I don't think it will catch F1. That's an extra like $5-6 million that it's got to bring in. I don't think it's got that much room in the tank. But Superman better be on watch, because he might get caught and knocked down to number 10. Moving on to the current 2026 top 10. So the top 10 for everything released calendar year 2026. Song Sung Blue is at number 1 with $11.25 million. Marty Supreme holds at number 2 with $7.8 million. Hamnet is still at number 3 with its just over $4 million. The Coral at $3.2 million at number 4. 28 years later, The Bone Temple, just over $3 million at number 5. Number 6 jumps up to Iron Lung with just over $3 million. And also jumping up and new on the charts is Send Help at number 7 with its $2.2 million. Mercy drops down to number 8 with its $1.9 million. Border 2 drops down to number 9 with its $1.8 million. And the Pout Pout Fish drops down to number 10 with its $1.6 million. All of that shuffling around drops out Grand Prix of Europe. So that's how the 2026 top 10 currently looks. Moving on to upcoming releases. 12th of February, there's only 4 what I would consider main titles coming up, because nothing really wants to compete with the first one, which is Wuthering Heights. The latest movie from director Emerald Fennell, who gave us Saltburn and Promising Young Woman, is a new romantic drama starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi and Hong Chow. This one is taking up all of the cinema times. Valentine's Day, they are expecting a big turnout, so nothing else is really on the market. Except for Crime 101 for, I guess, the more male-skewing audience for this weekend, if they're dragged along to the cinema. A new crime thriller from director Bart Layton, starring Chris Hemsworth, Halle Berry, Mark Ruffalo and Barry Keoghan. I actually am going to check that out this weekend. In limited release, so check your smaller and independent cinemas. We have Little Wonder Bear, originally a Spanish animated family kids movie that may have been dubbed or re-recorded into English. I certainly hope so, because kids are not going to read subtitles. And then we have Whistle, a new horror movie from director Corin Hardy, starring Daphne Keane, Sophie Nellis, and Sky Yang about a group of students that discover an Aztec death whistle and probably blow it, I assume. Moving on to streaming releases, we have How to Get From Heaven to Belfast, a new Netflix comedy mystery series from creator Lisa McGee and starring Rosalind Gallagher, Sinead Keenan, I'm going to butcher his name and I apologise, Cale Fionn, Dune, and Saoirse Monica Jackson, and can be caught on Netflix on February 12th. We also have Honey Bunch, a new fantasy horror movie on AMC Plus or Shudder from directors Dusty Mansalini and Madeline Sims Fewer, starring Grace Golowski, Ben Petrie, and Jason Isaacs, and releases on February 13th. We also have Soul Power, the Legend of the American Basketball Association, a documentary miniseries about the American Basketball Association, releases on Amazon Prime on February 12th. And finally, Love Story, a new anthology series on Disney Plus, February 13th, Valentine's weekend, with season 1 being about the whirlwind courtship and marriage of John F. Kennedy and Caroline Bessette, starring Sarah Pidgeon, Paul Kelly, and Grace Gummer. Back up to 4 movies for this week's challenge of major anniversary. Not as high as I was aiming for, since I had Shelter and Is This Thing On taking up my Saturday, but let's dive into what I did watch. First up was from 2016 with Park Chan-wook's The Handmaiden, with the extended cut, starring Kim Min-hee, Kim Tae-ri, Ha Jung-woo, and Cho Jin-woo. 1930s Korea, in the period of Japanese occupation, a new girl, Suki, is hired as a handmaiden to a Japanese heiress, Hideko. A movie that has been on my watch list for years, and with no other choice being one of my favourite movies of 2025, I felt it was a good movie to tick off for this challenge. The movie was not at all what I was expecting, but should have been considering who the director was. Multiple layers of storytelling done in a fantastic way, and the extended cut, I believe, adds more to the beginning to set up the first layer a bit better. Another great movie from Park Chan-wook, and I'm very glad to have finally watched. Next up was 2001's animated Metropolis, directed by Rintaro from Japan. Set in a futuristic cyberpunk dystopia with a private detective and assistant on the trail of a mystery while the political situation of the city seems in flux. This one didn't grab me as much as I would have liked. Some of the visuals were great, especially the cityscapes, but the animation style never worked for me, and the story was one that has been done many times before. I think if you grew up with this one, you could 100% love this movie to bits, but for me, it wasn't as great as I was hoping for. Next was a rewatch of 2001's Swordfish, directed by Dominic Sena, starring John Travolta, Hugh Jackman, and Halle Berry. A rich, powerful man seeks the assistance of a retired hacker after his usual guy is caught by the authorities for a major heist. A rewatch of a movie that, while I would not call it good, I think it's kind of fun. It's very dumb for sure, and it's trying way too hard to be cool, but in 2001 it kind of was. And I kind of needed a dumb movie for that afternoon. Finally was The General from 1926, directed by Buster Keaton and Clyde Brockman, starring Buster Keaton and Marion Mack. During the American Civil War, a train conductor attempts to sign up, but is rejected. When his train is stolen, he does everything he can to get it back. This would probably be the oldest movie that I've now seen, and I think it's my first silent era film as well. It's hard to judge movies like this since, of its time, it must have been incredible. But in a modern context, how does it hold up? Honestly, not that bad. But I think it's more a movie that you appreciate more for what it's done and its historical value than its value itself. Upcoming for this week's challenge is Husbands and Wives. Watching a film about a married couple or long-term partners, or watch a film where they could end up as a married couple by the end. We've got a few people that have started already, But we've got lots of examples like Gone Girl, Anatomy of a Fall, A Separation, Challenges, Maestro, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Let's take a look at my shortlist. I've got things like People We Meet on Vacation, Oh Hi, Sister Midnight, The Assessment, Breathless, Tokyo Story is high on my list for this week. Polarized I might finally get to. We've also got things like Extract or the Before Sunrise series, Before Midnight and Before Sunset. So we'll see how we go. That is it for me this week. Tune in next week where we will be looking at the Wuthering Heights to see whether it does do as well as people are hoping it's going to do. But the box office is continuing to slow down as it does every February. I will be catching Crime 101 this weekend, but we'll see how that holds up. I don't expect it to put up as good numbers as Wuthering Heights. I'm expecting Wuthering Heights to be the number one movie next week. If it's not, I will be very surprised. But that's it for me. Have a good one. Watch more movies. Bye.